Okay, so on the review, starting with the top section, problems 1, 2, and 3. These are your 2 by 2 systems, so 2 equations. The first one, if you guys look at these two, does something cancel right away if we pair them up? What does? The first one's going to be the easy one, and they're going to get a little bit harder as we'll probably have to change one equation here, and we'll probably have to change both of the equations on number 3. If I add my terms together, the two y terms cancel out, so we could just add 6x plus 5x, which is 9, and then 0 plus 11. 11. And then we divide both sides by 11. So remember, this is something I think you need to know for the test. It's 3 problems because the equations are in standard form. So when your equations are in standard form, like with use, I think there's a question on your test that says, would you use elimination or substitution, and why? So if you're going to say elimination, I'm going to write it, because you might want to put this on your page of notes. The equations are in standard form. Sorry, it's blown up too much. Let me shrink it down a little bit. There you go. We have x. Remember, our goal is to see where these two equations would cross each other on a coordinate plane. So once we have x, we have to do a plug and chug to find y. And you plug it in either to the top equation or the bottom equation where the x is. It's really your choice. I always do the top. That's just the one I prefer to plug it into. So I would take this, and I'm going to rewrite that top equation, but instead of putting the letter x next to the 6, so I'm going to do 6 times 1 and then copy down the rest of the equation. Plus 3y equals 0. Okay, so 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 3y equals 0. And how would you solve that equation? Good. Subtract 6. Both sides equals negative 6. And then divide by the 3. So you get y equals negative 2, and then good. See? So you've done this stuff before. So that was the first lesson we did. You've probably seen some of this before. Okay. Problem number 2. Here's the issue with number 2. I cannot cancel out my x's because they're not opposites of each other. I cannot cancel each other. So it would be really nice if we could just change one equation to make 2 terms cancel. Is there a 16 so that it would cancel with the positive 16? We could multiply by negative 2. Okay, so we are going to take this top equation and we're going to multiply every single term by a negative 2. So it's at negative 2 to all 3 terms. So negative 2 times 8x is negative 2 times negative 6y.
12.
Yep, positive 12y. And then equals, and then don't. A lot of people forget about that constant. Like they'll multiply these two, but then they'll forget that and they'll just write it as a negative 10. Obviously, since we don't have to change it at all, just carry it over. So I'm just going to copy it over here underneath that one. And then you can see your x terms will cancel out. So we're going to add the y's. And we're going to add, so 12 minus 8. So that's a 4y. Bring down your equal sign, and then 20 minus 8. Just 12. So then you would divide. So now that we have one answer, again, I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to plug it into my top equation. However, that was y this time. So when you plug it in, do not put it next to that 8. You would have to put it in next to that negative 6. So I'm going to work that out over here. So I'd have 8x minus 6, and then this equals negative 10. Okay, so what is 6 times 3? And then we'd add 18. So negative 10 plus 18 is 8. And 8 divided by 8. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but it'll catch up. To the side and write your ordered pair. So this time it'd be 1, 3. So just make sure if there's, I don't know if any of you guys did some of these last night or not, but similar. So this is going to be your study guide. So make sure whatever you did not get done, you are copying it down so you have something to study over the weekend. All right, then the third problem, there is negative 10 as far as a whole number. There's nothing I can multiply 2 by to equal a negative 9. So I can't just change one equation. I'm going to have to change both of them. So you guys have to make a decision. Do you want to make your x's cancel or your y's? That's your first choice. Okay. So what's a number that both 4 and 10 could be 40? There's one smaller.
20.
You can make them both 20s. Now it doesn't anyway, so if you just wanted to multiply this one by 10 and this one by 4, that's fine, but one of them has to be multiplied by a negative. Sure. I mean, it does. I'm going to go ahead and change these to 40s just because most of the time what people do is they just multiply these two together and that's the number they use. Even if there's a smaller one, they don't want to have to sit here and think like, okay, let me count by 4s, let me count by 10s and see what the smallest one is. So by 10 and this one by 4. But if we multiply by positives, both of these will stay positive and one of them needs to be negative. So you could either multiply the top one. I'm going to just do the top one because that's what Brittany said. But that would be, your choice. since we're changing them both, the top equation, multiplying by a negative 10, I'd end up with negative 40x minus 20y equals negative 20. Okay, the bottom equation, if I go through and multiply everything by 4, we have 40x I equals 100. Oops, I forgot my x. Okay, x's cancel. What's negative 20 plus 36?
16.
16y. Hundred is 80. Y equals 5. And then we're going to do our plug and chug. So I'm going to use the top equation. Chose to use the bottom one, that's fine too. But I'm going to do 4x plus 2 and 2. This equation? That's good. Either one is fine. I like to just always use the top one. 2 times 5 is 10. And then we would subtract 10, right? Equals negative 8. And when you divide by 4, you end up with it. Just don't forget your ordered pair over here, guys. So negative 2, comma 5. Okay, how do you guys feel about those 3 elimination problems? Are we good? Okay. So now, the bottom 2 say that we're going to use substitution to solve these. This were the problem on your test that said, what method are you going to use and why? What is substitution down here? Well, this one, the y's are equal to each other. Whoever used substitution is because one variable has been solved for. Meaning, like, look at my number 4. See how that bottom equation, so one variable has been solved for. You guys are doing the problem where they ask you, are you going to use substitution or elimination? If one of your equations has x equals or y equals by itself. Okay, number 5 is number 4. Always go to the equation where the letter is by itself. So this bottom one, and what I want you to do is I want you to put a box around. It keeps freezing.
I was wondering what I was like.
It's acting weird today. We're going to rewrite that top equation. So I'm going to put negative 6x, and then I'm going to put a minus sign. But instead of putting this letter y, we are going to replace it with the expression that we just put the box around. Because that negative 4x, y. So we can take y out, put this in its place. And the reason we do that is now, don't we just have one letter? When there's an x and a y, you can't. Okay, so be careful, because what does this minus sign really mean? It's technically like having a negative 1 there that we'll have to distribute to the parentheses. So negative 1 times negative 4x is positive 4x, times negative 6 is positive 6. After you distribute, combine any like terms that you can. So those two both have x's. Let's put them together. What's negative 6 plus 4? Negative 2x. And then just bring down the plus 6 and the 12. And pros at solving, right? Pros. All right, we're going to go ahead and subtract 6 from both sides. So we have negative 2x equals 6. And then finish with your division. X equals negative 3. Now the good news, even though that took us a while to find our first answer, our second answer, super easy to find. The reason I have you guys put a box right here is because that is going to be the place that you plug in your first answer. So when I get this answer, that top equation or the bottom one, but the bottom one's going to be easier. So that's why I always have you guys put that little box there. Find them. Hey, all I have to do is plug it back into that box and I'll have my answer. Because you could just type this in all at once, like negative 6. No, as long as you got the same answer. Yeah, because you're allowed to plug it into either equation. I just always like to plug it into one, right? So if there's already an equation that has been solved for y, yeah, right. Because you guys are so used to my way of plugging everything into the top now, so I know why you did it. All right. Now number 5. Look up here, please. If this expression is equal to y, and this expression is also equal to y, then the two, they don't look the same. They have to be if they both equal y. So you are basically taking this expression and putting it right there where that y is. 5x minus 15 equals negative 2x minus 3. And again, now we just have one letter. It's an equation that has variables on both sides, which you learn how to do in pre-algebra. Well, no, we're going to bring this one over. So when you bring it over, you just have to add a positive 2. So negative 3x minus 15 equals negative 3. Okay? Then 2 steps. We're going to add and divide. We're going to add 15 12? Negative 4? Yep. Okay, now this one, if you look at the options of which one to plug it into, don't they both say y equals? So it really doesn't matter which one you plug it into this time. With my normal, and I'll plug it into the top one. So negative 5 times negative 4 minus 15. Your ordered pair, negative 4 comma 5. Okay, do you guys have any questions on those systems so far? Everybody good? Okay.
Look at my grandma. That
Just let me know, okay?
We'll leave after this period.
Well, whenever we're done with this. You're fine. It's fine. I don't know. Oh, the 3 equations. Well, look at the middle
I
equation.
was gonna say it looks pretty easy.
So, all right. There are 2 equations where, but this one up here doesn't really help me out because there's still like 2 letters here. Where could I plug that in? Okay, so let's try. Let's just start here. Let's take this number. We're still going to have an S and we're still going to have a T, but the bottom equation has an S and a T. So we'll be okay because we'll be able to work with that.
Can we flip the T equals onto the other side? And that like could be like this.
Really good.
Like okay, so how on the first one T equals 2R, can we just put it where it's like 2R minus 3S?
Yeah.
Less than 5 equals 2?
Yeah. I'm going to leave it here because once I plug this in, we can then take whatever we get here and substitute it in down here. Negative 2
Negative 4.
is, and I'm going to write that above it, it's negative 4. And then can't we pair up, like aren't those like terms? So combine like terms. What's negative 4 plus 25?
Negative.
Positives. Yeah. So this would just become 21 minus 3s. It's okay. It's 21 minus 3s. So and we can replace, so look up at the board, we can replace this t with this substitution. Again, we're going to substitute that in. We'd have negative 5s plus 5, and then instead of putting the letter t, you put that 21 minus 3s. And now we just have all s's. Good news is, and then we'll do a plug and chug to find t. So we would distribute 5 times 21.
Is 105.
105, yep. And then 5 times negative 30. No, that's not a 35, that's an S. Look, I'm confusing myself.
Yeah, my answer
Dang
is
it.
like a 5 too.
That's what I get.
Negative 15 or 15.
Negative 15S. Yeah, negative 15S.
Wait, no, it's not.
Yeah, because this is a 5 times negative 3S is negative 15S. Why? We're distributing the 5.
You grabbed the third equation and plugged it into that one.
Yeah, where the T is.
I'm sorry.
In these, we should never use 5s and S's together. It's terrible. I have a negative 5 and a negative 15, making a total S plus 105 equals 5. Is 105?
Yes.
So negative 20, which makes S 5.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we have R is 5, and we still need T.
So S equals.
I would use a separate sheet of paper for these because clearly I'm already almost out of space. So that top equation, or minus 3s, remember that one? T equaled 21 minus 3s?
Yeah.
Can't I just plug that s in there and get t real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So t equals 21 minus 3 times 5. What?
21,
Right, so 21 minus 15. 6. Close. So now we have RST. So remember when you write your answer at the end, it looks like an ordered pair. It just has 3 numbers this time instead of 2, that ordered triple. And in the alphabet, it goes R, S, T. S was 5 and T was 6. So what I just wrote in pink, you put it like it's an ordered pair. There's T.
Where's 2? Oh, for the second one?
They gave it up there to us. They told us R was -2 in the very beginning. They gave us one of the 3 answers in the beginning, so that's where I got it from.
Is there gonna be a lot of those things?
Like this one, like this. Okay, now 7. Top equation only has 2 letters. These 2 equations have 3 letters. Which two do I have to put together? Yeah, the bottom two. You can never pair them up. So we want to put equation 2 and equation 3 together, okay? Notice what happens when we do that.
Wait, what?
So when there are 3 equations, if 2 of them have 3 letters and one of them only has 2 letters, you have to put these 2 together first. The ones that have 3 letters each, okay? So my B's cancel and my C's cancel. That's really nice because we're going to go ahead and get minus 3a.
-4.
1 minus 3 would be negative 2a. Here is 6. So we're going to divide by negative 2, which means a is negative 3. Answer, look up there. Remember that top equation that we haven't used yet? The top equation only has 2 letters. Can't I just plug this negative 3 into that top equation and get C? Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. Times negative 3 minus 4C equals negative 23.
It's -15.
And then we would move it to the other side by adding it, right? Add 15.
It's 8.
Negative 8, yep. So negative 4C equals negative 8. Positive 2. So we have 2 of our 3 answers. Yeah, that's why I said I would use regular paper. But my guess is you'll probably need some more space. Plus, if you try to squeeze stuff in, even if you're able to write pretty small, when you squeeze stuff in there, sometimes you just make mistakes you wouldn't make if you had a whole sheet of paper. So I would just work it out on notebook paper. So we can't use the top equation. I'm going to use this middle equation. You guys would probably benefit from erasing anything so that way you could actually see it. I can barely see mine, but it says A plus B plus 4C. So I'm going to put A, so negative 3 plus B plus 4 times 2 equals 9. There's not really enough room there, but I'm going to make this work. I'll figure it out. What is 4 times 2?
8.
Negative 3 plus B plus 8 equals 9.
So then -3.
Negative 3 plus 8 is?
-5.
5. So B plus 1. And then all we have to do is subtract 5 and then we got it. So B equals 4. So my final answer, ABC, would be negative 3, comma 4, comma 2. And I just wrote that up there at the top. It's a lot to write. Okay, so those are your 3x3s. Problem 8 and 9. Write the equations yourself, but then we're just going to use elimination to solve it. So It says, Jack and Daryl each improved their yards by planting rose bushes and ivy. So I'm going to use an R for rose bush and an I for ivy. Okay? They bought their supplies from the same store. So let's look at Jack first. How many rose bushes did Jack plant or buy? Okay, so Jack would be 10R, so 10 rose bushes, plus 14 ivy, so 14I. And then how much did he spend? 152. So it's no different than writing X and Y here. I just chose to use R and I because those are the things they're buying. Now, look at Daryl. Daryl spent $52 on 11 rose bushes plus one ivy, and that was $52. If you guys look up here, this kind of runs together, but that is a 1I. Okay, that's not 11 or whatever you think it is. It is 1I. Okay, so you have your two equations written. Now, wouldn't it be easier, since this is a 1, to turn it into a negative 14 and get the 14s to cancel?
Yeah.
Because 10 and 11, you'd have to change those to 110 each. You have to change them both. I don't want to change them both if I don't have to. So I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by negative 14, so that way I'll have a negative 14i. So I'm going to just carry this top equation over, leaving it as is. And then I need you guys to do some math for me. I need you to multiply negative 14 times 11 and negative 14 times 52. I can take care of that middle one myself.
Negative 154.
Okay. Negative 154r minus 14i equals negative 728?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know those numbers are getting a little bit bigger than what we're used to seeing, but again, you're using calculators, so use them to do the math for you. Negative 144r equals negative 576. All right?
Yeah.
And that's this is a negative 576. I had to squeeze my little negative sign in there. All right, then when you divide by negative 144, you will get 4. Now that answer makes sense because we're looking for the cost of each. So stick a dollar sign in front of it and just put a 4. So each rose bush is $4. And then we need to solve for the ivy. Now look. I know I could plug this into the top equation, but there's a 14 in front of that I. Wouldn't it just be easier to plug it into the one that has a 1 in front of the I? Because if we're solving for I, if there's a 1 in front of it, that's great, because we won't even have to do the division at the end. So I'm going to take this 4 and I'm going to plug it into that. I'm going to do 11 times 4 plus 1I equals 52. And we'll get our answer real quick on this one. 11 times 4 is 44. And then all we'll have to do is 52 minus 44. And you should get $8. So the I would equal 8. And then just stick a dollar sign in front of it. You can put 1I equals 8, but when there's a 1 in front, you don't have to do your division. You're just done. Put your dollar sign, and then each one of those is done. Excuse me. The next word problem, you guys are doing the same thing. So if you want to go ahead and try to set up your two equations, go ahead. I'm going to use A for adult tickets and S for student tickets. A and S. Whew. This one's even easier. Okay, so if you guys could look up at the board, I had 8 adult plus 8 student equals 168. And then on day 2, it was 8 adult, 7 students, 158. Okay? Notice how the A's both have 8s in front? Don't I just have to make one of them negative? So this is what I'm going to do. I've already brought my top equation over, but this bottom equation, I'm just going to multiply the bottom equation by -1. Because then that'll make my 8 become -8a. And then my 7s will be -7s. And then -158. This one was way easier to solve. Because I'm already going to get my first answer. You guys get 1s equals 10. So S, the student ticket, is $10. And then I mean either equation is fine because they're both so similar that there's really not one easier than the other. I'll use the top one. I'm going to do 8a plus 8 times 10 equals 168. And you guys would just solve that for the A.
That equals 11.
Yep. Can you see that, Caleb, okay? Number 10 is what we did first yesterday, where you've got, look up here, a linear equation and a quadratic equation. So if both of them are equal to y, doesn't that mean they're equal to each other? Yeah? So yesterday we took this expression, the quadratic, and we set it equal to the linear. It's using substitution again, basically. So we would have x squared minus 4x minus 21 equals -2x minus 6. I could have written it the other way around, but I like my x squared term to be on the left side, so that's why I wrote that one first. It doesn't really matter. So in order to solve any quadratic, everything has to be on one side and it has to be equal to 0, correct? Okay, so I'm going to bring over these two terms by adding them. So plus 2x and plus 6. What did I do?
You did that wrong.
I thought it said 2, it's 21. Goodness gracious. I'm struggling today, aren't I? It's because I drew my circle over that 1. My bad. I know it's kind of sloppy. X squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. And then your favorite. Good old asterisk. Negative 15 up top and negative 2 at the bottom. I was sitting here thinking, wait a minute, I can't factor with a 4 and a negative 2. What have I done?
3 and 5.
Uh-huh, and the 5 would be the negative 1, because it would have to match the sign of the bottom. So my two sets of parentheses are x minus 5 times x plus 3 equals 0. So what are my two x values?
5 and negative 3.
Okay, so when you guys are solving a quadratic linear system, we are no longer just looking for one point of intersection. Most of the time, we are looking for 2 points of intersection. So I have my two x coordinates, right? So look up here. I've got an x of 5 and I have an x of negative 3. What I don't have are the y coordinates. And we mentioned yesterday that if you have to do a plug and chug, it is always going to be easier to plug it into a linear expression than it would plugging it into the quadratic. So I'm going to plug them both into the top one. So I would have y equals negative 2 times 5 minus 6 for the 5. And then y equals negative 2 times negative 3 minus 6. And then whenever you guys get those numbers, let's see. That one and this one. I'm getting a negative 16 when you use the 5. And I'm getting a 0 when you use the negative 3. Is that what you guys are getting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then just make sure at the end, write it as 2 ordered pairs. And make sure you pair up each number with the correct x. So like the negative 16 has to be paired up with the 5, and the 0 has to be paired up with the negative 3. And then I think all that's left when you guys turn the page are like probability and sample space problems. I think all the hard stuff's over. Well, I won't even say that. Not the hard stuff, but the stuff that requires the most work. Probability and sample space, those aren't going to take us much space at all.
What time do you think we'll be done?
By 2. Like these next couple problems are going to go super quick. Okay. Number 11. You guys have to read the directions. It says, determine whether the scenario involves independent or dependent events. So that's what we're going to start with. And then find the probability and make sure you round your answer to the nearest thousandths place. So it says there are 8 nickels and 7 dimes in your pocket. You randomly pick a coin out of your pocket and then return it to your pocket. Then you randomly pick another coin. What is the probability that the first coin is a nickel and the second coin is a dime? So, will my first pick affect my second? No.
Independent.
And it's because you're putting it back in your pocket, right? So number 11 is going to be independent. So you guys can just write like IND out to the side.
INDEP.
Yep, pretty much. Okay, then the next thing you need to tell me, how many total coins are there? Okay, so when we write our probability, it's going to be out of 15. Are we good, Caleb? Okay, so I have independent, and then the first pick is out of 15, which means the second pick will also be out of 15. We don't have to drop that number because we're going to we're putting the coin back in. Now, the first one was a nickel. So how many were nickels?
8.
And then the second one's a dime. There you go. All you guys have to do is type that into your calculator and tell me, like, do 8/15 times 7/15. And I would use the division. I wouldn't do the ABC. I would just do 8 divided by 15 times 7 divided by 15. Excuse me.
0.25.
Well, we got to go out 3 digits.
Oh,
So
0.2.
249. Is it 249?
Yeah.
Are you guys all getting 249.249? Okay. Now, number 12, there are 11 shirts in your closet, 4 blue and 7 green. You randomly select one to wear on Monday and then a different one on Tuesday. What is the probability that you wear a blue shirt on both days? Okay, so now, will Monday's pick affect Tuesdays? Yeah, because they're assuming that after you wear a shirt, you're going to put it in the dirty clothes, right? You won't wear it again the very next day. So on day 1, there are 11 shirts to choose from, but on day 2, there are only 10 shirts to choose from. How many on Monday would be blue? 4. Now, if we wore a blue shirt and they want us to pick blue the next day, are there still 4? No, there's only 3. Oh, and I forgot to put DEP. Make sure you guys put DEP for dependent. And then type in 4 divided by 11 times 3 divided by 10 and carry it out 3 digits.
109.
Yes, 0.109. Okay, good. So you will have on your test, they'll have 2 problems where all you have to do, make sure you're listening, all you'll have to do is tell me whether it's independent or dependent. Like, that's all you have to do. And then you'll have a couple problems where you'll find probability. Okay. Number 13, it says represent the sample space using set notation. So that's this guy, right? Our fancy little brackets that none of us can make very well. Just scribble, whatever. The slower you go, I think the worse it is. I just try to do it real fast. Sure. Ish. Yeah. Yeah, they're not always pretty. Okay, so a pizza stand offers hand-tossed, pan, and thin crust. Okay, so look. I'm going to use H, P, and T. So hand-tossed, pan, and thin crust. And then each pizza can either have a white sauce, so W, or a red sauce, R. So, hand tossed could be white sauce or red sauce, right? Okay? So, hand tossed white, hand tossed red. What would we do for pan?
Both.
Same thing, right? PW and PR. And then wouldn't thin crust also be the same? TW, TR. Done. Now, to double check and make sure you have enough, there were 3 different types of crust, and there were 2 different types of sauce. Isn't that a total of 6? 3 times 2? Now, listen, you guys don't have to really do this. All they want you to write is this. I'm just telling you, if you had accidentally only written like 4 of those, you could just quickly check and be like, okay, well, 3 times 2 is 6, so clearly I'm missing something. Okay, so that's just a way to check it. And then last problem, and then we're finished. It says find the number of possible outcomes. So they're wanting us to do this. Number 14 is wanting you to do the what times what times what and figure out the total. So a sandwich shop has 3 types of sandwiches. There's ham, turkey, and chicken. So put the number 3 on your paper. Each sandwich could be ordered with white bread, multigrain, or rye. So how many different types of bread? 3. And then they can either have mustard or mayonnaise. 2. 3 times 3 is 9, times 2, 18. Done. Easy peasy.
So on that one, okay, if we misunderstood it, okay, and we did it like number 13, would that be wrong, but we still put multiplication? Like how you put the.
Like if you did this and this,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just doing more work than what you need to, but yeah, you'd still get credit for it. Yeah, but the directions will be on there. Okay, so just remember, if they tell you number of outcomes, you don't have to do the sample space. If it says sample space, you just have to use it and write all your different options.
Oh, okay.
Can you go back on number 9 and 8? I've been completely closed.
Give me just a second. I'm trying to get my mouse to move. It's frozen, just like everything else. There we go.